Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this Christmas holiday horror movie review video as part of my December 2022 series. So today we're going to take a look at another first-time Christmas horror movie watch for me, as most of these will be. Um, Kind of a different take or a different kind of Christmas horror movie as well, and that is from 2010, Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. So yeah, I got this on DVD at some point in 2022. I'm not exactly sure when. It was after Christmas last year though. Actually, you know what? I got this just a couple months ago. What am I thinking? Just too many movies to remember. But yeah, Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale. Let's go ahead and get into it. So as I said, this is definitely a different kind of Christmas horror movie. It's not in the same vein as Silent Night, Deadly Night, or Black Christmas, or you know, name it basically. Um, Although I guess there is one movie I could compare it to maybe towards the end of this video. We'll see if it jives after I go through my review. But Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale is a 2010 Finnish fantasy action horror comedy film. So yeah, it falls into a lot of different genres. Written and directed by and not spoiler alert, but I'm gonna butcher a lot of names coming up here because a lot of them are foreign. So if you're familiar with my channel, you know I have trouble pronouncing names in English correctly or American names. So um, the film was written and directed by Jalmari Helander, and it's about people living near Covertorni and who discovered the secret behind Santa Claus. The film is based on a 2003 short film, Rare Exports Incorporated, and a 2005 sequel, Rare Exports: The Official Safety Instructions, by Jamari Helander and Juso Helander, both of which involve a company that traps wild Santa Clauses in trains and exports them to locations around the world. So, yeah, that's the gist of it. So basically, the movie opens an American and a British research team from the firm Sub Zero are taking drill core samples on top of Corvaturni Earfell in the Finnish region. I'm not pronouncing that right. It's Corvat Corva Corva Corvaturni. Oh man, Korvaturi. Corvaturni. No, that's not right. Corvatunturni. Corvatunturni. We'll go with it. Um, that's a Finnish region of Lapland. It is believed to be the home of Jolappakia, a figure in Finnish folklore that helped shape modern day versions of Santa Claus. Team leader Riley realizes that the fell is an ancient burial mound built by the Sami to conceal and imprison something. Two local boys, Jusso and Pateri, watch the team at work and eavesdrop on their discussions. They run to Jusso's nearby snowmobile quarreling about Santa Claus's existence as the team begins to excavate the fell using explosives. When they when they reach a glacier in the mountains, they find hundreds of reindeer carcasses. Rano heads to Corvatur- Corva Tunturi to demand reparations from the Sub Zero company, whom he believes is responsible for the troubles over the reindeer. Instead, he finds a deer pit and no trace of the Sub Zero personnel. On the morning of Christmas Eve, the trap snares a naked old man. Pateri sneaks out of his father's house to a police truck and reaches the village where Rano hears that potato sacks, heaters, and hair dryers have gone missing. Pateri Terry learns that Jusso has also been missing with a straw effigy found in his place. Oh boy. Sorry about the verbiage there, guys, in terms of butchering all those words. There's some tough words to pronounce here. But basically this movie is about this excavating group that's on the top of this large mountain and this um it's like a research team, um this Finnish region of Lapland. And basically, inside this mountain is known to be the frozen physical being of Santa Claus, as it is in this movie, which isn't the Coca-Cola version of Santa Claus that we're familiar with. Um, Much more of a folklore, much more of a mythology to this movie. So hopefully, what I said there makes sense in terms of the synopsis and the gist of the movie. As far as the cast goes, again, more butchering of words to come. Ani Tamilia as Pitero Cantillo, Jorma Tamilia as Rano Cantillo, Tommy Corpella as Amo, Rano Jovanen as Peperian, and Per Christian Elfson as Riley. Oh boy, I probably should have just avoided all the cast. But anyway, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale from 2010, the Finnish fantasy action horror comedy film. um, I really enjoyed this movie. This is really a great movie, especially from a technical standpoint, from a story standpoint, and an execution standpoint. So let's just start with the things I really liked about Rare Exports or my pros for the movie. I love the premise of the movie, the idea of this movie having this sort of mythological mythology sort of take on Santa Claus, as opposed to just as opposed to just some random person who has a psychotic break who's running around killing people in a Santa Claus outfit. This isn't anything like that. This is more of a mythology take on Santa Claus and his origins. It's basically a Santa Claus origin story, and having him be not so nice of a Santa Claus, much more of closer to the Krampus figure, both in terms of look and in terms of just his intentions as Santa Claus. But as I said, it's a dark, non-Coca-Cola version of the Santa Claus that we know and that's often advertised in American culture and pop culture. And that non-Coca-Cola version is a reference in the movie early on, so that's where I got it from, and I thought that was a pretty effective way to describe it. But it's just a very interesting take, a very interesting premise and story that's executed very well. Just very creative and unique idea of a story that I haven't seen before, and frankly, I don't think exists. Somebody can comment down below if it does. I love the look of this movie. It has wonderful landscape imagery and scenery with amazing cinematography and camera work throughout the movie. You get some really breathtaking landscape and scenes. There's one scene where the camera pans up to these hundreds and thousands even of these dead reindeer carcasses in the snow, and it's just very effective camera work and cinematography. Now, I do realize that some of this movie was there is CGI involved, but they do such a good job with it, especially for being only a $2 million budget movie, where it's really not that bad. And as you know, if you've watched my channel, I'm not somebody that's big on CGI. There's a few scenes that you can tell it's totally CGI, but I've been much more offended by CGI in a lot of other movies. Let's put it this way. So, yeah, it's really the visuals, the imagery of this movie, the scenery, the landscapes are really quite breathtaking, along with the camera work. And I just really, and this is such an easy on the eyes kind of movie to watch that really helps execute the vision of this movie and the execution of it. It's really great to look at. The performances across the board are all really great as well. Um, Especially by the young boy who plays the main character of Pater, Pateri. Um, that's Ani Tamolia. Not quite, I'm sure I'm butchering that. And the actor who plays his dad, Jorma Tomilia, as Ronald. Um, they're both phenomenal as the two leads in the movie. Both are really solid, and they both have really great chemistry between them. Now, there's a reason for that. Apparently, they're father and son in real life, obviously by the same last name that I just gave there. But so it kind of makes sense that they have such good chemistry because I was blown away before I knew that. And watching the movie that they were father and son in real life, I was like, wow, this boy and this dad look like they've worked together their whole lives. Wow, now we know why they're family in real life, and but they're both phenomenal. I also thought all the supporting performances are really solid as well to help bring this story to life. It's kind of hard to tell 100% because some of this movie is subtitled, some of it is in a like the Finnish or Norwegian language. I would say 75% is subtitled, 25% is spoken in English. So it's not a 100% subtitled movie, but the majority is subtitled, but because you have foreign actors and American actors, or at least English speaking actors in this movie, so performances very phenomenal. It's a very well paced movie with an efficient runtime of about 85 minutes or so, which makes for a really effective and engaging and enjoyable watch overall. It's never boring. I was never bored by this movie. The first act, the second act, the third act, I was engaged throughout. They just do a really good job of the flow and keeping everything moving with this movie, and yeah, it's just very well paced. It also is very well combined in terms of the little bit of comedy that's in the movie, the fantasy horror, um, suspense that's in the movie, the action that's in the movie, especially in the third act. They all do it. It's just really well sewn together and combined with those aspects of the movie. It has a really good and effective twist in the third act of the movie that kind of takes the movie in a different direction than what you were necessarily expecting in the first two acts of the movie. It's a very effective twist, though, and a very effective ending for the most part. I also love the atmosphere and overall vibes. As I said, combining the more creepy elements and moments of the movie with the fantasy adventure aspects of the movie, particularly in that third act, to where a young kid sort of takes charge and becomes sort of a hero, an action hero, fantasy hero of this movie. I thought it worked really well for me. Whether it well for everybody, I'm not sure, but for me, it worked really well. It's clearly a very well directed movie with the building up of tension and execution in the first two-thirds of the movie, and then the delivery. There's also, this movie has a lot of themes of commercialism, poverty, surviving, and capitalism. They're all prevalent throughout the movie, especially towards the end of the movie. But I have to say, it's not really in a heavy-handed kind of way. Like I wasn't watching the movie thinking, "Wow, they really slapped me in the face with that political theme or message." They're there, but they're not like it's not like to the viewer, if that makes sense. Very effective and very thought provoking, which I never have a problem when a movie makes me think from a thought provoking standpoint. And this movie does that with those themes and the story here. So, yeah, in case you can't tell, I really like this movie, Rare Exports and A Christmas Tale. As far as any cons go, I really only have one con and then a couple of sort of things just to warn you guys about in my review. The con that I have is I would have liked a little bit more backstory on certain characters to help explain the character's motivation. One of the big examples would be like the head guy of this research team, Sub Zero, who comes back towards the third act of the movie and is part of the big twist. You don't really know why he's so into this or what his motivations are necessarily to dig this up. I'm assuming money's probably part of it, or just to say that he did it. I'm not really sure. Also, the main characters of this movie that we're introduced to, you have a pretty good idea of their backstory. You know that they're kind of sort of living paycheck to paycheck. They're not wealthy. They're reliant on the livestock around there, but I don't know. I would have liked a little bit more with them as well. Just the characters in general. So that's one area I think they could have spent a little bit more time, added another 15, 20 minutes to the film, and still made it a really effective film. I would have liked to, I think it would have made the movie even stronger than it already was. Just some other things more for like, I don't want to say, well, I guess kind of warnings for horror movie fans out there. This isn't a traditional horror movie. It's not a traditional Christmas horror movie, and it's not really a traditional horror movie, period, in terms of on-screen blood and gore, on-screen kills, and just flat up, straight up horror, jump scares, anything like that. This is more symbolic horror. It's more horror that's within the premise of this movie. Now there are some, excuse me, there are some imagery. There are some creepy moments with certain characters' eyes, nakedness that goes on in the movie. I mean, there's definitely horror elements of this movie. It's not a non-horror movie, but it's just not a traditional Christmas horror movie. Don't the closest I could compare it to, as I mentioned at the beginning, is probably Krampus from 2015. But even with that, That movie's much feels much more whimsical, much more fantasy horror, with the Krampus character. But it's close in terms of Krampus slash this version of Santa Claus, which is more in the element of Krampus, more in that version of Krampus. It's not gory, it's not bloody, and there's not a lot of on-screen kills. So there is comparison there to Krampus of 2015. So if you like that movie at all, I would definitely recommend this movie. Obviously, it's set in a different country, different background and scenery, and a whole different idea and story. Where that one was based specifically on the character of Krampus, who's another mythological figure from origin figure. This actually is Santa Claus, not Krampus. Um, so just keep that in mind when you go into this movie. Don't expect to be a bloodbath, or don't expect a lot of jump scares or on-screen horror. Also, there it is a subtitled movie, 70% of it at least, anyway, as I mentioned earlier. So know that going in that it's not 100% subtitled. You will actually be able to just listen and hear some English speaking at different points throughout the movie. But 70 to 75% of the movie is subtitled because it's a Finnish film with Finnish actors or foreign actors that don't speak English. So just know that as well. That there's English speaking in this, but there's also subtitle, and I know that can be a turnoff to some people, as I mentioned in my review for the Advent calendar earlier in this series, which was a French holiday horror film. So those are sort of my warning points, not really cons to the movie. My only other con is, as much as we come to like these characters, understanding they're trying to survive, they very much take part in the commercialism of Christmas, and even some, you can even argue some slavery things towards the end of the movie. I don't want to give too much away, but once the livestock that they count on are killed, they're trying to sell this quote unquote Santa Claus that they find to this head honcho of this Sub-Zero firm. Um, they're trying to sell them basically for the same amount that they lost in the livestock, the reindeer being slaughtered out in the field. So they're not really missing an opportunity either. It doesn't mean we don't still root for them, but there's definitely commercialism, even by our sort of good guys or the main characters of the movie. Obviously, there is by Sub-Zero and everybody involved with that firm. And then even at the end, something happens that I could have done without, quite frankly. I know it's an origin story, and they're trying to explain how things have come to be now, but it very much kind of brings slavery, a sense of slavery into the fray, which, like I said, I could have done without. I kind of understood where they were going, but I don't necessarily know that it adds anything great to the movie. I wouldn't say that it takes away from the entire movie either, but the ending was okay, but not my favorite part of the movie. That's another sort of con that I have. But overall, guys, this is a great movie to watch around Christmas. Just a great watch with great directing, great acting, and performances. Good main characters with good chemistry, and a really different take on Santa Claus. A much more dark take, obviously, a more horror-based take on Santa Claus and his elves, or his helpers, if you will. I would definitely recommend checking it out, especially, as I said, if you like the 2015 film Krampus, which is the closest that I can relate this one to. But it is a different Christmas. It is a different kind of Christmas horror movie, as I said. Maybe Gremlins a little bit. It's sort of the non anti-Christmas movie comes to mind. But it's probably closer to Krampus, but Gremlins a little bit too. So I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10, though, for what it is. I really enjoyed this movie, and I'm definitely glad I have it in my collection. It will be a staple of my Christmas watch, a Christmas horror movie watch every year, Christmas watch period every year. So 8.5 out of 10 for Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale from 2010, the Finnish movie. Go ahead and comment down below if you guys have seen Rare Exports, what you think of it. Do you like it more than I do, less than I do? Why not? Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below so you don't miss any of my reviews for this series. I also want to mention in this video, since I'm about midway through this series, make sure you go back to last year on my channel and check out December of last year, where I reviewed um, other Christmas movies like Black Christmas, the Black Christmas remake, the original, the P2, A Christmas Horror Story, and many more. Make sure you check those out. just by on my channel. I have those reviews up. So please subscribe to my channel overall so you don't miss any of my great horror content coming up. And thank you for watching. Hope everybody's having a good Christmas season. Hope you enjoyed this review and stay scared. Bye.